Hey guys, Robbie here from CFSB Nutrition at CrossFit South Bend. Today we're going to be talking about stress balance. How full is your tub? So basically we're going to use the metaphor of a tub or a sink or whatever really you'd like to use in its place to talk about the relative balance of stress that you might have going on in your life. So there are a few different pieces of the puzzle that we want to consider here. So number one is the faucet, right? So the faucet represents stress input, things that are coming into your life that are causing it stress. So, obviously it depends on the person, but for a lot of people, this could be things like global affairs, what's going on in the world, their overall health, finances. That's a big one for a lot of people. What's their job like? Do they like their job? Do they not like their job? Do they have a crappy commute? Do they work 60 to 80-hour weeks? It just depends on what kind of situation they have. And then family stress or personal stress. What's your relationship like with your family, your significant other, your friends? All of these things represent varying degrees to which the stress level in your life can rise. And there are plenty of others besides those. Those are just the main ones that most of us have to deal with on a daily basis. So the faucet, like I said, is really the input. It's the thing that contributes significantly to the overall level of the water in the tub. So like I wrote here, the level of the water represents your overall stress level. So as you can imagine, if the faucet is turned on at full speed and the drain is plugged up, then this tub is going to overflow really quickly, just like stress would overflow in your life really quickly. Meanwhile, if it's just a dripping faucet with not too much stress coming in and the tub isn't that full to begin with, then it's not really going to represent much of an issue. So the third piece of the puzzle here that is going to determine the extent to which you are able to deal with your stress is the drain, the stress relief, the bath drain or the sink drain that basically allows relief from this water level. So you could have a faucet that's basically pouring all the way through, causing water to rise up, but as long as the faucet isn't gunked up and it's not malfunctioning, then you should be able to handle the stress that is going on in your life. So we've talked about what leads to the input of stress and what leads to the stress level. What are some things that can contribute to stress relief? Both some good ideas and some not so good ideas. So on the good side, we have things like meditation, journaling, walking. It depends on the person. There are many others besides these: painting, playing with your dogs, going to a comedy show, things like that. But I mentioned these ones on the left in particular, and I put them all together that way because for the most part, those three things are things that you can do daily and for free. And that's really important because there are a lot of stress relief activities that are good and important, but that you can't necessarily do daily and for free. So you want to pick something that you can do as a habit on a daily basis and ideally for free as a start, and then you can layer up from there. Other things that can help, things like acupuncture, massage, cognitive behavioral therapy, EMDR, things of that nature can all be beneficial. However, unless you are independently wealthy, most of us cannot do that certainly can't do that on a daily basis, and perhaps can't do that on a weekly basis. Usually if it's possible, we would do it maybe a couple times a month or maybe once a month. So while those are all awesome and beneficial and helpful, and we're big believers in them, realistically, those can't just be the only forms of stress relief. You have to have things that you can do daily in your life to help you relieve some of that stress when you can't get access to those things. So let's talk about some things that are not as good forms of stress relief. So this is not to say that we don't all engage in these at some point. Everyone does. I do. It's just a matter of trying to minimize it as much as you can in favor of the good stuff. In general, the good stuff tends to take time and patience and persistence, and takes a while to work up to. In general, the not as good stuff provides that quick relief that's instantaneous, but then fades and leaves you feeling worse than you started. So using food as a stress relief, whether it's fast food or sugar or processed food, all of those things can be not as helpful forms of stress relief. Alcohol, if you know people who say that they have a couple glasses glasses of wine a night to unwind, that's probably a less ideal form of stress relief, because it can impact your sleep and your performance and your health. Social media, we all do it. I'm posting to social media right now by posting this video, but there are greater and lesser extents to which we engage in it, and obviously the more you engage in it, that can obviously hamper your health. Binge watching, pretty much anything. I would say, again, not that we never do it, but just trying to minimize that as much as possible, that kind of constant dopamine hit. Feels good in the moment, but later on, probably not so helpful. Excessive training. Training is a hormetic stressor. It's something that if you have enough of, it actually allows your body to be resilient and recover from. But if you have too much of it, actually causes more stress. So some people will bury themselves in training, impairing their long-term health by doing it too frequently. Let's say, 7 days a week or something like that. And then workaholism, same type thing. You should, ideally love your work and be passionate about it and see purpose and meaning in it. But, checking emails all hours of the night and texting people back and burying yourself in the work without dealing with these things up here probably isn't the best idea either. So hopefully now you guys have a sense of what contributes to your overall stress balance. Like I said, it's a multifactorial equation. It depends on, how open is the faucet and how much water is pouring in. What was your baseline level of stress to begin with? If it was near the top, well then yeah, the tub's gonna overflow real quick. But if it was near the bottom, then you've got some wiggle room. And then how big is the drain and how well is it flowing? To the extent you've got these good habits in place and maybe some other things like acupuncture, massage, and therapy, you've got some good outflow that's causing your tub not to overflow. But if it's a lot of this stuff, your drain's gonna get gunked up and then the stress is eventually going to overflow. All right, guys, thanks so much for tuning in. See you next time.